Emma winced as she eased herself onto the couch, one hand pressing against her swollen belly. The baby had been restless all morning, each movement a reminder of both the joy and exhaustion of carrying life within her. She reached for the glass of water on the table, but before she could stretch far enough, Lucas was already there, handing it to her. "Thanks, sweetheart," she said, giving her son a grateful smile. "Mom, you need to take it easy," Lucas said, his brow furrowed with concern. At 16, he had taken on more responsibility than most boys his age, stepping in where his father should have. Emma sighed, brushing a strand of dark hair from her face. "I know. The sound of the front door opening cut her off. Daniel stepped inside, his crisp suit slightly wrinkled, a briefcase in one hand and his phone clutched tightly in the other. His eyes flickered toward Emma for only a second before settling on Lucas. "Hey, kid," Daniel said, dropping his keys on the counter. "How was school?" Lucas shrugged. "Fine." Emma waited, hoping for more, some acknowledgement, a greeting, anything. Instead, Daniel glanced at his watch and exhaled sharply. "I need to jump on a call. Busy night ahead." A knot formed in Emma's stomach. It was always a busy night. Lately, Daniel's late work hours had stretched longer, his excuses growing thinner. She wanted to believe him, to trust that the man she had loved for over a decade wouldn't betray her, but the gnawing unease had taken root deep within her. "Daniel," she called, keeping her voice light. "Dinner's almost ready. Will you have time to eat with us?" He hesitated, his grip tightening around his phone. "I'll try." He wouldn't. He never did. Lucas watched his father walk away, his expression unreadable. Emma saw it, the disappointment he tried so hard to hide, the quiet anger that simmered beneath the surface. "He's lying," Lucas muttered. Emma stiffened. "Lucas, I heard him last night, Mom." Lucas cut in. On the phone. He was whispering to someone. He said, "I can't wait to see you." Her heart pounded. "You must have misheard." Lucas shook his head. "I didn't." Emma swallowed hard, forcing a smile. "Your dad is under a lot of stress at work. Let's not jump to conclusions." Lucas didn't argue, but his silence spoke louder than words. That night, after Lucas had gone to bed, Emma sat alone in the dimly lit living room, scrolling mindlessly through her phone. She wasn't searching for anything in particular, just something to distract her from the doubt creeping in. Then she saw it. A notification flashed across Daniel's phone, which he had left charging on the coffee table. "Sophie, can't wait to see you tonight. Last night was amazing." The room spun. Emma gripped the edge of the couch, her breath shallow. The words blurred together, but their meaning was crystal clear. Her hands trembled as she locked the phone screen. She could confront him. She could demand an explanation. But deep down she already knew. The illusion had shattered, and there was no turning back. Emma stared at the dim glow of Daniel's phone screen, her pulse hammering in her ears. Sophie. The name seared into her mind, each letter a dagger twisting in her chest. She wanted to believe there was an innocent explanation, but there wasn't. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Last night was amazing." The words clung to her, suffocating. She placed the phone back exactly as she had found it, her fingers trembling. Her stomach churned, a mix of nausea and heartbreak swirling within her. "Don't cry. Not now. Not in front of him." Daniel emerged from the bedroom, rubbing his temples as if the weight of the world rested on his shoulders. "The weight of lies," Emma corrected bitterly. "You're still up?" he asked, his voice casual, as though nothing had happened. As though he hadn't just received a message from another woman. Emma forced herself to breathe, to suppress the fury bubbling beneath her skin. "Couldn't sleep," she murmured. Daniel sighed, oblivious to the storm brewing inside her. "I know the pregnancy's been tough on you." He placed a hand on her shoulder, the same hand that had likely touched Sophie just hours ago. Emma's body tensed. "I have to head out early tomorrow," he continued. "Big client meeting. I'll probably be home late again." A sharp pain twisted in her chest. Lies. Instead of confronting him, she nodded. If she accused him now, he'd deny it. He'd twist the narrative, gaslight her into believing she was paranoid. Well, she needed proof. The next morning, after Lucas left for school and Daniel rushed out, not to work but to her, Emma made a decision. She picked up Daniel's spare car keys and followed him. Her hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, her breath shallow as she kept a safe distance. Her heart thudded against her ribs as Daniel's car pulled into a hotel parking lot. Not an office building, not a conference center. Hotel. For a moment she couldn't move. A part of her had held on to hope, clung to the possibility that she was wrong. But as she watched Daniel step out of the car, smoothing his tie, and embrace a woman with flowing blonde hair, that hope died. Emma's fingers dug into the steering wheel. The woman, Sophie, laughed, tipping her head back as Daniel whispered something in her ear. He never looked at Emma like that anymore. She grabbed her phone with shaking hands and took a picture. Evidence. Proof that her world wasn't just crumbling, it had already collapsed. Her breath hitched as Daniel and Sophie disappeared into the hotel. He wasn't coming home late because of work. He was here with her while Emma sat at home, pregnant with his child. Tears blurred her vision, but she didn't let them fall. Instead, she turned the car around and drove home, her mind spinning with a single question. What now? By the time Lucas returned home that evening, Emma was still in the same spot on the couch, staring at the wall, her thoughts spiraling. Mom! Lucas frowned, setting his backpack down. Are you okay? Emma opened her mouth, then closed it. How could she tell him? How could she shatter his world the way hers had been broken? But before she could find the words, Lucas spoke again. I followed him today. Emma's heart stopped. What? Lucas sat beside her, his jaw clenched. Dad. I followed him after school. He pulled out his phone and played a video. Daniel. Sophie. The hotel. Emma sucked in a sharp breath. I knew it, Lucas muttered, his voice thick with anger. I knew he was lying. Emma turned to her son, her hands shaking as she cupped his face. I'm so sorry, she whispered. Lucas swallowed hard, his eyes glistening. What do we do now, Mom? Emma exhaled slowly, her sorrow hardening into something stronger. Resolve. We make sure he never hurts us again. The house was quiet, but Emma could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. The truth was out now, not just to her but to Lucas. That changed everything. She wasn't just a betrayed wife anymore. She was a mother whose son had witnessed his father's deception firsthand. And that was unforgivable. Lucas sat across from her at the kitchen table. His phone still in his hand, the damning video evidence paused on the screen. His jaw was tight, his fingers curled into fists. He looked older than 16 in that moment, stripped of the innocence a son should have for his father. Mom, he said, his voice careful but firm. We can't just pretend this didn't happen. Emma met his gaze, pain swirling in her chest. I know. She had spent years compromising, forgiving, making excuses for Daniel. But this wasn't something that could be smoothed over. Not anymore. Her phone vibrated on the table. Daniel. Lucas glanced at the screen and scoffed. He doesn't deserve to talk to you. Emma hesitated. Then, with steady fingers, she answered. Hey, babe. Daniel's voice was light, almost cheerful. Work ran late again. I'm grabbing dinner. Do you want me to bring you anything? A bitter laugh built in her throat, but she swallowed it down. The lies came so easily to him. No, she said, her voice even. I already ate. All right. I'll be home soon. She didn't say goodbye. She hung up first. Lucas exhaled sharply. He's lying to your face. Emma nodded. And he thinks I believe him. For a moment, silence settled between them. Then Emma straightened. I need to talk to Mia. Lucas frowned. Why? Because she knew, Emma said, pushing back from the table. She suspected something, maybe even saw it firsthand. And if she did, I need to know why she never told me. Lucas didn't argue. He just nodded. Emma grabbed her keys, her mind spinning as she drove to Mia's house. They had been best friends since college, but now Emma wasn't sure if she truly knew her at all. Mia opened the door almost immediately, her expression shifting from surprise to concern. "Emma, what's wrong?" Emma stepped inside, her voice sharp. "You knew, didn't you?" Mia paled. "Emma, Don't lie to me, Mia." Emma's chest ached with betrayal. "You knew Daniel was cheating and you said nothing." Mia closed her eyes for a moment, as if bracing herself. Then she exhaled. "I suspected." Emma's breath caught. "For how long?" Mia hesitated. "A few months." Emma's stomach twisted. "And you didn't think to tell me?" Mia's eyes filled with guilt. "I wanted to. But I was scared of hurting you, Emma. I kept hoping I was wrong." Emma swallowed the lump in her throat. "Well, you weren't." Mia reached for her, but Emma stepped back. She wasn't ready for comfort. Not from someone who had kept quiet while her world crumbled. "I don't know what to say," Mia whispered. "Then don't say anything," Emma replied, turning toward the door. "Just know that I would have told you." The drive home was a blur. By the time she pulled into the driveway, her mind had sharpened into cold determination. She wasn't going to sit in silence, waiting for Daniel to feed her another lie. She was going to act. Lucas was waiting by the door when she stepped inside. "What now?" he asked. Emma met her son's gaze, steel in her voice. "Now we make sure he knows he can't come back."